All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, we're joined by a cool dude this evening. But welcome to Inclusion Matters podcast with Inclusion Pro Wrestling. Tonight, our guest is Xander Hendricks.
Xander Hendricks to you.
Xander
Hendricks.
There we go. And, of course, as normal, we're joined by the co-host who doesn't look like a baby fart tonight. He just looks like his normal person. But he could have done his fro up a little bit better because we all know he likes to have that afro. But, the man in the yellow shirt that looks like Big Bird, I don't have a kind word to say about him because he talks like paint is drying. He acts like paint is drying. He likes that orange juice, Orange Cassidy wannabe freak who just, is from wherever, he weighs whatever. But who the hell really cares because Orange Cassidy is an overrated paper champion. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I said it. He's an overrated paper champion. And the guy in the yellow shirt loves Orange Cassidy. No big deal. But, and then, of course, I'm the man that every woman wants. I'm the heartbreaker. So, welcome to the show, Mr. Yellow Shirt. If you think you can actually talk without listening to paint dry, I'll let you start this interview off.
Well, first, I'd like to say thank you to our sponsors. Yeah, we'll take a nap then. I'd like to say thank you to our sponsors. First of all, El Ranchero Mexican Restaurant in Longview, Washington. Precision Power Washing, which you can find him on Facebook. American Family Insurance, and the agent there is Kevin Watson. So go to him for all your insurance needs. The CARE program, which stands for Community Action Reaching Everybody. And to get a hold of the lady that's in charge of that is Becky Bernhardt. And Bruce Nichols Painting for all your painting, pressure washing, and lead removal needs. And you can find him on Andy.
Well, now since we got woke up from my nap, would you like to introduce your guest tonight?
Yes, we're joined by... Okay, say your name one more time. I apologize. That whole paint drying thing threw me off.
Xander Hendricks. Xander Hendricks. Xander Hendricks. Hi.
We're joined by Xander Hendricks. Thank you very much for being on tonight.
It's a genuine pleasure. Thank you all.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure thing. I am one of the last generation of the Tennessee wrestlers. I'm starting my third year, even though I'm a bit older. We'll get into that, I guess, a little bit about my age and getting into pro wrestling at my age. Been a huge wrestling fan my entire life, and I had a moment where I thought I'm not getting any younger, and I want to try out my boyhood dream. Everyone says they want to be a pro wrestler, but I actually stepped through those ropes, and that's something that not a lot of people have actually done. Yeah, so I'm open to all questions, whatever you'd like. I'm here. This is awesome.
Well, okay. See how much it is about paint drying. We can't even hear him now. So we'll move on. Pat, why don't you ask your first question?
What are some of the biggest rivals that you faced so far in your career?
Right now, probably the best and the biggest rivalry, I guess you could say, it's kind of a frenemy type of situation. A guy that we kind of came up together, his name was Charlie Knox. He has about the same level of experience, same level of training. We share some of the same trainers. It started friendly by, who could outbest who in training, who could do a cooler move, who could do a better promo, this or that. So really, Charlie Knox here locally in my area has probably been the guy that I've had the most trouble with, yet the most fun with, but I do respect him. Enough to the point that when other people have came to our area to challenge our best from our school, me and him came together for one night, and we showed him who's boss. So it's like Cobra and G.I. Joe.
All right, paint drying. If your mic's working, you can ask your question.
So who were some of your wrestling heroes growing up?
I'm a bit different than a lot of people. I grew up watching wrestling all the way from the NWA era, because once again, I'm in my 30s, which I hate to admit. Um, growing up in the South, 605, everybody knew what channel to turn on. So for me, the heroes, the Road Warriors, most definitely, because that was my earliest childhood memory of wrestling. There's a local park. That my mom would take me to when I was really, really little. Came home, turned on the TV, and I saw what looked like two cartoons come to life. It was Road Warrior, Hawk, and Animal, and I was like, what is this? I couldn't have been more than probably 3 or 4 years old at the time, and I was hooked. So definitely the Road Warriors hold a big, big part of that. Um, Other heroes, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I'm just going to jump all through eras too, so please, I do apologize. This is ones that come to mind. All iterations of Jericho. That's always been a big one. I grew up in the South as a WCW kid. So I remember when he was on the house show circuit, and I went to my local stadium, which we call Freedom Hall here. And I remember rooting for the Lionheart Chris Jericho. And so, me as a kid, that was such a big thing. Um, so outside of that, there's a few more obscure, like Grand Naniwa out of Japan. I love humor wrestling as well. I love to make them laugh as well as hate me, that's really easy to get people to hate me. Go figure. I guess when you look like this, it's easy to hate. Yeah. So that and Colt Cabana, that's been a big one as well. Just having fun in wrestling and looking like you're having fun while doing it. So.
Very awesome. All right, the man who thinks he's a heartbreaker, even though he's wearing glasses like my grandma. You got a question?
All right. Well, just for that means you're in timeout, so you won't be here for the rest of the interview. And my question is, what are the top 5? Let's see here. Let's do top 5 female wrestlers of all time.
Ooh, all time. Bull Nakano is definitely up there for me. Aja Kong. Any era? Like any era?
Any era.
Andy Era.
Britt Baker. Love myself some Britt Baker. I love the art style of Abaddon as well. I'm a huge AEW fan because I don't know what it is. It reminds me of that old WCW vibe. I know you guys probably heard that 1,000 times. That's the big thing to call it the new WCW. But I grew up as a WCW kid, and so I latch on to stuff like that. So in no other order, also oddly enough, Nia Jax. I know that it's a very polarizing thing, but someone that didn't meet beauty standards to get as popular as she did, good on her. So.
And I actually tend to agree with you. I like AEW more than I like WWE these days anyway, too, just because it's more of the WCW storylines.
Well, it's cool for me seeing guys I've worked with, guys that I've trained with. I can turn on TV and go, hey, that guy helped me learn how to do up and overs. That guy was really cool. That I see people that I knew that are on that. So for me, that's cool. I don't really know anyone that's worked for the Fed or in the Fed, but it is neat to see guys that have been signed or worked there. I'm like, those are good guys doing good things. That's pretty cool.
Very nice.
All right, Shia Pet.
I'm gonna mix this one up a little. Going back to the NWA era, your top 5 underrated tag team.
Top 5 tag teams underrated. Ooh. I might have to come back to that one. I'm trying to think of like underrated because I immediately I jumped to.
It can be any combination of wrestlers in the NWA era.
Like who I would want to see in a tag team or already established tag teams?
That were established.
sometimes I tend to blank a little bit. You could argue. I know they're not underrated, but I'm a huge Freebird fan. And watching, the Freebirds, that was always a big one because it didn't quite have the same pop as the Horsemen and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say underrated necessarily, but, Bam Bam Gordy and Michael P.S. Hayes, that's a big one. People forget that a lot of tag teams came from the NWA or came from the territories that got popular elsewhere, such as like the Steiners and stuff like that. People just straight up forget that that's where they got their start, but then they got way popular elsewhere. So I would argue that as well. I'd really have to think about underrated tag teams because when I think of NWA, I immediately jump to the Midnight. I jump to the Rock and Roll, which that also with my training, the Rock and Roll's a big part of that as well. So I'm gonna have to come back to that one. I'm really gonna have to think about like my wealth of NWA knowledge to really think like who was the most underrated.
Okay, Big Bird.
Well, this ain't Sesame Street. So what is your opinion on why Mike today, since you're a huge WCW fan like I am, isn't on like AEW or in a promotion right now where we can still hear him?
Not to sound mean, but it could be an age thing. It could just be a lot of those guys from that era. They were known for the one thing, and they've gone on and done other things. I liked Mike today. He was more of the kind of like the more play-by-play man. Like Tony Schiavone was the straight man. He'd always would play the this is how we're doing it, and today would be the more explanation guy. I do feel that in a way. It could just be age, or just that's a time that he's just left behind him, maybe. Because I know that listening to other podcasts and shoot interviews, sometimes some people want to leave that there in the past, and maybe that's it. Definitely be cool to sit and talk and pick his brain about learning, all the stuff that happened in the backstage, tearing up call sheets 10 minutes before show, learning how all of that stuff would change on the fly, even on air. That would be cool to learn.
Absolutely. And I've always thought that like maybe in AEW they kind of have their Mike today in like maybe a couple of guys, right? Like on Dynamite it's probably Taz, and then Rampage it would be maybe Chris Jericho, and then on Collision it would be Nigel McGuinness. So maybe that's why he hasn't gotten.
People need to. I think that Taz is a bit of an underrated commentator because he's humorous when he's off air, but if you can get past the New York accent, it's really good. Like it's really spot on. Even if you take all the stuff that ends up on Botchamania, when they cut to commercial and he's just rambling, that's gold right there. But that he may be my favorite on that. While thinking, going back to the other question about the NWA tag teams that are underrated, because I saw you pop back up, Hollywood Blondes. I mean, think about that. You have two guys that one became a mega star, one guy got to a whole other level, but together, not a whole lot of people know they tagged together, especially in the modern era, because we have an era that's kind of ran by the WWE. If it didn't happen here, it didn't happen anywhere. So having Brian Pillman and Stone Cold, that's pretty cool. Also, when Shane Douglas tagged with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, that was another one too. I know it's a bit of an odd pull, but that's another one that hit me. So sorry, I don't mean to keep jumping questions.
Oh,
no, you're fine.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll give him a break from the top 5 for a second. So, in your personal opinion, who is the best wrestler turned actor?
You know what? I don't know. Gosh, that's it's easy to say The Rock, but The Rock plays The Rock in every movie. It's not really he's acting. It's just like, let's see The Rock as a Jungle Boat captain. Let's see The Rock with a giant ape that's going to fight a giant lizard. Let's see The Rock in this scenario. So it's kind of fan fiction meets The Rock. So a weird pull would be AJ Styles because he's only acted, I think, in like a music video, and he was very believable that he was a repairman. I believe AJ Styles would be a good repairman if he showed up at my house. So there's my controversial take, AJ Styles.
Again, we can't hear you, Big Bird.
There we go. I said nobody said AJ Styles as an answer to that question, so you're the first. And
See,
apparently his phone agreed.
I mean, seriously, think about it. If you didn't know wrestling and AJ Styles showed up as the air conditioner repair guy, you wouldn't go, "Are you a wrestler?" But if you saw The Rock show up, you'd be like, "Aren't you that guy on TV?" Like, it would be pretty obvious.
All right, Chip.
Okay, I'm going to throw another little twist on as a follow up to that question.
Okay.
Can you name a couple of wrestlers that were in movies that never get mentioned?
I mean, one that comes to mind immediately is when Bam Bam Bigelow was in Major Pain. Yeah, he played the biker guy that the kids hired to be in Major Pain. Yeah, that's one. If I remember correctly, even though people saw Suburban Commando for Hulk Hogan, I wasn't The Undertaker also in there?
Yep.
Yeah. But once again, people just remember, Terry Bollea, but they don't remember, The Undertaker. I don't think there's any others that really stand out with movies. I'm like, hey, it's that guy. Also, I think the Wanderers, King Kong Bundy, like right at the time where the Warriors was coming out, there was like the competitor of the Warriors, the Wanderers, and then King Kong Bundy. So there's another odd pull.
And it's funny that nobody remembers The Undertaker in Suburban Commando because he had that like high pitched voice.
Yeah,
right. So you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. The other movie that no one remembers is Over the Top.
Yeah, Scott Norton.
Yeah.
And Terry
Funk.
That's right. I think of him in Roadhouse.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to an up-and-coming, this is actually a two-parter, up-and-coming wrestler and an up-and-coming promotion that's just starting?
As far as wrestler goes, do not give up. I'm going to try to look Derek like straight at the camera on this one. Do not give up. You are really good. Find the thing you're good at. I struggled really hard, and I still struggle to this day of, waking up and going, am I good enough for this? Am I good enough to give someone else my all? Like, can I really entertain these people? There's a lot of what ifs. It's like, the devil and the angel, but sometimes it's just two devils saying, hey, you suck. No, you suck. You're like, really, guys? Like, so don't give up. Just find your way, find the thing that you're good at, and keep bettering it. You'll find the thing that latches. Don't be pigeonholed. That's another thing too. I'm 6'6", 220 pounds. When I walked into the very first school that I started at, immediately they were like, you're big, you should be doing big boots and choke slams. And I'm like, I can actually run marathons. I did Taekwondo my entire life. I have a background in theater. I would love to do more than big boot choke slam 1 2 3. Like I can do a flip, I can cartwheel. Just because you're big doesn't mean you have to do that stuff. Just because you're small doesn't mean you have to be the guy that does 5-star frog splash. If you're not charismatic, you don't have to put yourself under a mask. you can break those molds. The second part to that question about federations, drama. Don't get involved in drama. Why would you? In my area of Tennessee, there's a lot, and I mean a lot of little federations, and I don't mean little as a bad term. There's a lot of little pop-ups here and there, guys that own rings and stuff like that, and they'll run a show here, they'll run a show there. But I think you would go a whole lot further and do better business if you just introduce yourself to your competition. You're polite, you're friendly, don't run on the same days as them. Don't poach their people for shows that you're trying to run opposition for. Just be a genuinely good dude. Also, don't hire child diddlers. How about that? Don't hire people with seedy backgrounds. Like, hire people or pay people that you want to have in a family environment. The same family that's going to hand you money. But once again, here we are.
So very good advice.
Advice maybe you should listen to, Mr. Promoter. Oh, I mean, co-owner.
Yeah, let me get into that for a second, if you guys don't mind. So we're actually starting we're actually starting our own promotion called Inclusion Pro Wrestling.
That's cool.
And the reason it's called Inclusion Pro Wrestling, and I'm going to get on a little bit of a soapbox because I do every time I say this story, is because 3 of our members that are on our board or that are helping have a physical disability. And the reason it's so important to me was 20 years ago, I was told, I got a chance to go to a training school, but I was told you would never do anything in wrestling as far as getting into the ring or, whatever, because you're in a wheelchair, right? It's a physical sport. So they don't really match up that well. But that didn't stop me. So I kept coming back every day. You know what I mean? Almost like challenging them. Like, I'm not leaving. So, figure out what you're going to do. So they put me as a commentator and as a booker, but I think they just did that so I'd stop bugging them to kind of make themselves look better, And so it took me 20 years, but I've been able to purchase a ring that actually Roddy Piper's been in.
That's cool.
And, we're not going to turn anybody away, right? Because I remember what that feels like. If you want to come in and do, even for 5 minutes, if you want to live your wrestling dream, come on, right? We'll run you through the paces, show you what it's like. And if it turns out 5 minutes later it's not for you, that's fine. At least you got a chance to live your dream for that 5 minutes. And
I think that's awesome. Like, genuinely, like, that warms my heart to know that people want to do that and give back. The school that I'm blessed enough to go to, we have kind of an open door policy of, we don't care who you are, what you are, we can find the thing for you, and that's awesome that you're taking it to even a higher level for that. That's awesome. If I interrupted you, I'm sorry. I'm just, stuff like that yeah.
No,
that's
you're
awesome.
fine. And, it's one of those things where, like, I have to sit back sometimes and think, is this really happening? Because when you have a dream like that, it's like way out here in the stratosphere, right? It's like one of those dreams you think about. You're like, okay, well, that's there, but let me get the small ones out of the way that are, achievable, right? And now that it's here, you're like, wait, is this happening? Or am I like in a, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and our first show is actually going to be tentatively on the November 25th, and it'll be a toy drive for Shriners, Dornbeckers, and Randall's Children's Hospital.
Do me a favor. Give me, whenever, drop me a address I can send something to. I'll be more than happy.
Okay. Sounds good.
So
we'll definitely do that.
I love stuff like that. Before I got into wrestling, a big part of what I did was like organizing charity stuff. That's in my my personal life. So as soon as you talk about helping other people, I'm just like, I'm in. So that's cool. That's very cool. So if you're starting your own promotion, that's a very big undertaking, and it's neat to see, especially something as awesome as full inclusion. You know, my daughter is on the spectrum, which isn't physical, but it is a mental thing,
Mm-hmm.
and just to have someone that is willing to take someone that most people wouldn't give the time of day to, man, good on you. Like, for real. That's like, good on you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, part 2 of that our co-owner, of course, I'm the other co-owner. So unlike him, I'm more optimistic. We will run in November. This will happen. It's not an if it will happen. It is a when it will happen. We are debuting November 25th, the weekend after Thanksgiving, and it will be a toy drive. But that is just our first charity show. That's right. Later on in 2024, we will have a charity, or we will have a show to help another passion that the three of us on this panel share, for Special Olympics. Now, ever since COVID, we haven't been able to have a lot of state games and everything. So our philosophy is, okay, if you give them money, they will let us play. So part 2 of this is, after we do our toy drives for our kiddos, we're going to come in and pool our money together and do a charity show for our Special Olympians, to where that money will be used strictly for their state games and state competition. So 2 charity shows from this promotion a year, and that's a promise. So not 1, but 2. And November will be a big kick in the butt, because it's going to happen. We've got great talent coming in. It's going to be local for first, but as we grow, we want to start bringing in our friends from our podcast later on to help us with this. But I will definitely send you information for the January show, and then again when we do our Special Olympic show, I will send you information for that as well.
Yes.
Awesome.
So, okay, so let's get off the soapbox and get back on to the interview before it goes off the crazy train rails. So, let's do. Well, he brought it up here. He brought it up here with Taz. So, let's do top 5 managers or commentators of all time.
As much as I'm not a fan of the Fed, Vince McMahon has to be on there. Just the gravitas that he would put into just the most basic jobber. Like, you never in a million years do you hear, it's Duke the Dumpster Grossi, by God. But like, even as a kid, I'm like, if this guy's reacting to this guy, it's got to be good. So commentator, that's one. Jesse the Body Ventura with Vince McMahon, hearing the banter back and forth was good, because some of Jesse's jabs were at Vince personally, so that was always fun.
Yep.
The voice of my childhood is Tony Schiavone. I mean, just plain and simple. Every Monday night in front of my TV, it's Sting. I can't do voices, obviously, but so there's that. Jerry the King Lawler. I grew up also in the Monday Night Wars, so hearing him and JR. So, and that's no real order. That's not my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's just the 5 that I love. So
Absolutely.
All right, Chia Pet, your turn.
He's not a chia pet. He's a combination of what happened to Baby Huey meet Alfalfa.
Enough from Big Bird. This is one of the funniest questions that we've asked. What is your favorite cookie or snack?
Ooh, favorite cookie? Not to sound like a cheap date, but a Subway white chocolate chip macadamia nut or American Cookie Company sugar cookie, most definitely.
Mm.
I can't eat that all the time because I am the type of guy that when I wrestle, I stare at myself in videos and going, oh, I shouldn't have ate that. I start naming things I probably shouldn't have ate. Like that one thing is what made me fat. Yeah. Um, but also snacks. I am really bad for eating a single chip, but then realizing like 20 minutes later, like there's an empty big bag of chips. And I'm like, who else ate these? And I'm looking around for like the ninjas in my room that ate the chips with me, but no, it's just me and my fat butt that ate them. So yeah.
Yeah, and he says, I could say that it could be controversial question now because he asked a pregnant woman that question. A pregnant woman that question, and he survived the question.
You know,
Go ahead.
I was thinking if someone's pregnant and asks that question, like I'd be like, "How long you got?" I'd start naming stuff left and right. Like,
Although nothing compares to what the answer was yesterday.
Yes.
Because we set off air that like we had an interesting interview yesterday. So we asked the guy what his favorite snack or cookie was, and he said Axe body spray.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, all right.
That's kind of what we said too. Like I am right. Okay. I'm not touching that one.
You gonna tell the man that says Axe body spray is his favorite snack that his choice is wrong? No, man, I'm good.
Nope.
Well, we were scared of that man.
All right.
So. All right, Big Bird, what's your next question?
Let's see. If you had a dream opponent from any generation, no questions asked, who would it be and why?
Oh man, that also I would like for that to be a top 5, but if I just had to pick the one, either would be, gosh, this is hard. Like just one guy, like out of immediately on my Rolodex of 80s NWA. Part of me wants to say Arn Anderson in his prime. Just having that, the good technician, like that brawler. Someone I know that I could have a good match with. I think that I really could have. It's easy to say Hulk Hogan and watch a million people watch me wrestle and then get beat by Hulk Hogan. But as far as having a match, like either that or yeah, that's maybe 90s Jericho. Like either Y2J Jericho or even like WAR in Japan, like FMW Jericho, like early on would be neat. But yeah, or Bobby Eaton. Sorry, I know I'm making this a top 5 unintentionally.
No, you're fine.
I'm just rambling off people that I think it'd be cool to lock up with. So.
No, you got my brain working because you said Jericho in the War promotion, and my first thought was a visual of him and Gato as like the tag team.
Yeah, when he was Liondo. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he's given us some great answers so far. So let's do the one that the Big Bird really loves to do, and I'm going to steal it again. Okay, but this one here involves you putting on not your wrestler's hat, but your booker's hat.
Okay.
We want your 6-match card of a WrestleMania, any generation, all federations included. 6 matches.
All federations.
All federations included.
All over the world at any generation.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hi. I'm just going to come off these at the top of my head, so please forgive me. So, in no particular order, however, I will say like the main event for. I would start off with kind of just a fun crowd pleaser match. I think it'd be really cool to have. Not necessarily the greatest Royal Rumble, but think of like the Andre the Giant, Memorial Battle Royal. So all these people from all these generations, you could have like your top 40, not jobbers, but mid-carders come out, pop the audience, like, oh, I remember this guy. Oh, he's the guy with the bird. Oh, that's the tugboat guy. Did you know that he also fell through a wall in WCW? Like, guys like that you could get the nostalgia pop from. So that would be my first match, and that's not a cop out by just saying a bunch of people go, but that's what I would start with, just to get people engaged. People are still buying their popcorn. People are still buying $40 t-shirts. Why are they $40? So I would do that. Moving on, second matchup, I would love to see Seth Rollins and Chris Benoit. Yeah, I know that's kind of persona non grata, but if we're in a world that exists everybody playing well in the Federation of all places, I'm assuming tragedy didn't strike elsewhere and someone didn't do something horrendous. So we'll pull him there. I would love to see a four-way tag team match. So you have the Rockers, the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express, and then you have FTR.
Ooh.
Oh.
Ooh.
It is a battle of anything. I mean, just yeah. Now we could one up this. We could put a stipulation on it, and we can make it a Night of the Skywalkers match.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
If
That
we're going
would be
old
awesome.
NWA, let's. Yeah. See.
Oh.
So there's that. I would love to have. The problem is having to pull all these people from all these places around the world. You got to have something for the Gore Files. You have to have something. So I would love to see. Now, once again, this is if this is WrestleMania, so this is the Federation's version of hardcore. So we're not talking like disembowelment and deathmatch crazy stuff. But I would love to see Terry Funk, Cactus Jack versus Osuchi Onita and Hayabusa.
Ooh.
I would, yeah. If we're doing everywhere, yeah. Also, this is a world where Hayabusa isn't dead, unfortunately. R.I.P. Hayabusa.
Absolutely.
So yeah, is that 4 or 5? I'm just fantasy booking over here.
I think that's 4.
Okay, so we got to have our semi-main and our main. So semi-main, I would have 4 Horsemen versus NWO, the match that we never got.
Oh.
Ooh, that would be a good one.
And I would have a colossal build-up to it. And I would have NWA Black, well, NWA Hollywood and the Wolfpack come together. Like, we got to really beat these guys, And then you have 4 Horsemen thinking that they're too cool for school. They would get every other person from the Fed, all these places. So when the NWA started to cheat, do run-ins, stuff like that, you have all these people come to help protect the 4 Horsemen. So it'd be a cool battle between the two. So main event time. Part of me would want to see Antonio Inoki versus Giant Baba to see who would really take it. However, that's just the Japanophile in me. For putting like eyes on product, it would be cool to see like Hogan and Savage go at it, a la 80s Mega Power style, but that's already been done. And it's kind of a cop out to say Roman Reigns and Kenny Omega. So you got to have that huge moment that no one's ever going to see ever. So take your pick with the first one and the third one, because the second one's already been done.
Wow. I'm sorry, that card made my like wrestling inner child just explode. Like,
Yep, same here.
My buddy Travis, he's probably my first fan ever. He was the one that was like, "You should really try your hand at wrestling." We would travel for hours doing charity events, and that's all we would talk about was pro wrestling. And we would fantasy to this day. I mean, we just fantasy book stuff, thinking about it nonstop. So I've had some of these in my back pocket for a while.
this is kind of cathartic for you that you got about.
Yeah, I'm glad. It's like having that useless knowledge that they finally ask you the question on Jeopardy. Like, yeah, I know that. So,
All right. So before we let Pat answer or ask his next question, I want to talk about our upcoming 150th episode. That's right. It's going to be the 27th of this month, and it's a huge interview for us. And I was actually lucky to be the one that booked this, just like I've been lucky to book most of our shows. But for our 150th episode, we've got a TNA original. He had one hell of a Monsters Ball with Abyss. I'm talking about none other than Congo Kong. Yes. Congo Kong will be on our podcast on the 27th of this month and episode number 150. As a former co-host of ours used to say, you're all welcome.
that's a good get. That's really cool. That's
all right, the man of reason. Try to top that one, bitch.
What is the worst injury you've sustained in the industry today?
Self-inflicted or oopsies?
Either.
Okay, well, let's do a top five. I won't name names or places. Yeah, I got put on my neck once by someone that talked their way into a ring once. That was not fun. Total stingers. Like, you're just like, oh, this is how I die, huh? Well, damn. Sorry. Like one of those. As far as, so that put me out for probably 2 months. It was horrible. It was something really simple too, but if a person doesn't know what they're doing, they're a hindrance and a safety hazard to everyone. Self-inflicted. I was trying to do a modified disaster kick. We're just running, jumping off the middle rope, bouncing and flipping, but I thought it'd be cool to try it from the top rope, as someone my size would do. Yeah, that was horrible. I slipped off. The first time I did it, slipped right off. I hit my leg, and it just all ropes went straight down. So not only did I nut myself, my leg was like black from here up, and that was horrible. Do not recommend. 0 stars. Yeah. Yeah. So I got some really bad bruising once on my arm from someone grabbing, not letting go. That sucked. It was enough where a customer asked me, "Is everything okay at home?" And I had to yes, everything's fine at home. It's my other job that's the dangerous one. So, but other than that, it's just normal bumps and bruises.
Damn.
All right, Big Bird, try to top my news, bitch.
I can't. First of all, what's the craziest match you've ever been in?
I've not been in I've not been in hundreds of them. I've outside of actual really good structured matches, the craziest one. I got talked into doing a 8-man tag once at a local. I don't want to sound like I'm downing them or anything. Local federation, the people there were nice. However, everyone in the ring, I realized after I was there, either not trained or thought they were trained, and no one knew what to do. So it was a matter of me only been in at this time only been out of training for a little while, attempting to direct traffic. It was a master cluster F of you know what, and that's probably the most horrific match, the worst. You know, if that was the main what you're asking for in the question, that's the one that comes to mind. Of just like the whole time, I'm like, it's up to me to save this. No.
All right. Should I tell you about another booking I got? Nah, I won't do that.
Oh, come on.
Oh, come on.
Okay. I may or may not have on the following night Mr. Anderson.
Oh.
You're welcome. Okay, next question.
I need a minute. You can't just drop that on somebody and be like, moving on.
Anderson.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Pat. Top that one, bitch.
What is the craziest prank that was pulled on you, or you pulled on another wrestler in the back?
Bless his heart. He doesn't know that this was a rib to this day. Still doesn't know. Love him to death. He is one of the newer guys that trains at the same place I do. I won't name names, but as soon as I tell the story, if he listens to this, he'll know it's him. So we do this thing called the card drill. Every suit of cards is a certain type of workout. And so if you pull a 10 of hearts and the hearts are push-ups, you got to do 10 push-ups. And then it goes on. So they have a thing called duck walks where you have to crouch down and walk the whole length of the warehouse and back. Because our school's in a warehouse. And the gentleman was late. We were already halfway through. So when he pulled his card, it was the duck walk. And I said, all right, you got to start from there. I'll show you how to do it. And I see these big 45-pound weeder weights that you put on a weight rack. And I'm sitting there like, so what you got to do is you got to grab this weight right here. And you got to crouch down and hold it. And you got to walk it down. And you got to do it 4 times. So there he is. We just had to like walk. That's all we were doing, walking. So there he is. First, like, I can do this. The second time, he's a little engine that could. He's like, I think I can. The third time, he's like, I don't see how you guys did this. So fast forward like a month later, we do the card drill again. And due to school, he was late again. And I just was like, everybody be cool. Don't say anything. Shh. So he goes to do them. I'm waiting for that card to get pulled, and it finally gets pulled. I hand him the weights, and off he goes, and everyone's just like. My trainer was just like.
It's like you realize we want him to come back, right?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of fun ribs. You know, anything that's mean or ill-spirited. You know, nothing against the person. You know. Stuff like that I love because it takes him just a second to go, wait a minute, but he still hasn't caught on. So hopefully we can go for a 3-peat. I would love that. But I'm going to share this as soon as we're done. So he's probably going to watch it and he's going to go like, you son of a... The only reason I did that with him is I knew that he could take the joke and he's good at what he does. And I'm lucky to say he's one of my friends. So...
You know, you just made me realize something. I had a rib pulled on me, and I thought it was because of the crowd, but the more I think about it now, that was probably a rib. So I was at a flea market in Hillsboro, Oregon, and my buddies were wrestling in a tag match. So they're like, here, we're going to use a cookie sheet, and we need a place to hide it. You're in a wheelchair, so you can hide it behind your back. Fair enough, right? So I go back there, and they put it behind my back. They didn't tell me they were in the main event. Like 3 hours later, and I'm sitting outside for like 3 hours in the sun, going, "Son of a bitch, where are you?" Just getting a little uncomfortable.
We thought about doing something similar at one of the shows that the school that I train at, like the school that I go to learn and stuff like that. We thought about telling one of the new guys, like, all right, here's your run in to a spot in a match that doesn't exist. So you have someone just waiting at the curtain the entire time. But the whole point is, like, if you're not on the card, you're not like. So there's the backstage area, and then there's the dressing room area at the school that I go to. And the card is put in the dressing room. It's not put in the backstage area. So that guy where he's not on the card, he's not in the back. He's not in the dressing room. So he doesn't know the match order. So the whole time, like, having this guy like ready with a crowbar, ready for a match that doesn't exist. And like, yeah, I think you're up next, dude.
Yeah. Just keep waiting. It'll happen.
Yeah, just wait for your music to hit.
But yeah, that just dawned on me. I bet you that was a rib more than the.
That and they forgot. They're just like, oh yeah, the cookie sheet.
No, because when they came out, they like took it out from behind my back, which after 3 hours in a hot sun probably took a little bit of skin with it too. And then to finish off that story, they almost got me killed because it was in Hillsborough, so there was a big Latino community, right?
Yeah.
That was watching because the guy that ran it was Latino, so he brought in that, that audience. So my buddy grabs a bottle of water and he walks into the ring, and we're like, okay, it's like, 70 degrees outside. He's probably thirsty. He grabs it and pours it down his head.
No, oh no, I know where this is going.
And he goes, "There, now I'm a wetback just like you." And he points at me like I'm the one that put him up to it, not thinking that I'm in the crowd. So they turn like the pod people and look at me like, "This was you, wasn't it?" And I thought, well, this is how I die.
Well, at least if you could make the crowd react that negatively, you've done something right. I've tried all sorts of things to make, fans boo. Like when I've, been in that situation, try to get fans to boo me and this and that. You could point at someone and, jaw jack with them. They know it's part of the show. However, the advice I will give about being a heel, find that one guy with the girl that's just a little bit out of his league. Just a little bit. The guy that's like 5'4" and the chick that looks like one you'd find in a magazine in a supermarket. And all you have to do is go look at him, look at her, and just and then watch him explode. Just watch him like grab him by the neck, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's good. I had a lady jump over a barricade once. That was fun. Yeah, all it took was we cheated. We cheated to win. Go figure, right? That's what we do.
That's what heels do.
He is just jaw jacking on her own. All it took me to go was go about 4 feet from her. Then she gets up like she's gonna get in my face, and I'm like, lady, I don't know why you're mad at me. I'm the only one in that backstage area that likes thick thighs.
Oh.
And then we're talking like trying to lift the barricade that's connected to the other barricades, trying to pick them up to fling them. And we're talking like legit violence. And I'm like, wow.
You're like, do we have security? Like, I might need a way back to the back here.
Well, that's the greatest part about local indie shows. As soon as the match is over, I got to be security. So great. I've got to be back out. Everybody plays 3 roles at local wrestling here in the South.
Just don't put me anywhere near that lady, please.
All right, Pat, you're up.
All right. What kind of mark would you leave on the wrestling industry?
I hope I am. My goal is I don't know if anyone else I've ever said this to anyone. My goal in wrestling is to wrestle for about 3 to 5 more years. Then I would love to train people. My trainer has been phenomenal. His name is Dan Jones. He trains at Net Pro Professional Wrestling in Kingsport, Tennessee. He was trained by Nightmare Ken Wayne, and Ken Wayne was trained by Mario Galento, the guy that got a lot of fame or infamy from the Dark Side of the Ring, the guy that pulled the knife. Yeah, that
Yeah.
guy. That's Mario Galento. He trained Nightmare Ken Wayne, and Ken Wayne taught my trainer. Southern wrestling. Um, but my goal is to be the kind of trainer that he was. You hear all these horror stories from all these shoot interviews and these podcasts where these guys are ran through the ringer. Like, you have to be tough to do this, tough or dumb, one or the other, or both. Uh, but my goal is to be the kind of trainer when I get to that point, if I ever get to that point, that could see the good in someone to say, we can do something with you. We can take something, make it bigger, turn it up to 11. I have a little bit of a history with, like I said earlier, sometimes you have those moments of feeling like, am I good enough? My goal is to leave the mark of, no matter who you are good enough. You are more than capable of learning this craft, doing it, and performing. And that's what I would love to do, is just know that the next generation after me, they have a better place because of my generation. And my generation was good because the generation that came before us. Just take it and make it better. It's like having kids. Every parent says they want their kid to have a better life than they had. Same thing, same rules apply. I say the same thing about my daughter. I want her to have a better life than I had. I would love to see the younger guys that come to the training classes that I'm in. I would love to see their wrestling journey be better, easier, and more fruitful than mine.
Wow.
Sorry, I got on a tangent there.
No, you're fine.
Keep them coming. I love these questions. These are great.
All
All
right,
right, Big
Tony,
Bird.
you're up.
Oh, you want me to go? I thought it was your turn, but okay.
I'm being generous today.
It's just because you don't want to be accused of paint drying again, but okay. Let's see here. All right, here's one. Top 5 indie male wrestlers.
Oh, which it's kind of that one's a bit of a tough one as well, because a lot of the big guys that pop up have gotten signed recently. Because
They count. Yeah, I mean, you can count those.
In no particular order, I'm a huge Danhausen fan. A lot of people are Danhausen fans. Just for someone that went the exact opposite of everyone else, and right now is still the number one merch seller at the moment, I believe, for AEW without even being on TV.
Yep.
Good on him. That's awesome. I would like to throw, trying to think, both Gustavo and AJ Kazana from NWA, because I remember them when I started my journey. Those were the guys that were traveling, coming into my school, watching how they interacted with with not only the audience but the other wrestlers. Learning from them, getting things, and they're not really indie guys anymore because they're on NWA TV now. But that's a big one. Those are two big ones for me. And both of them were super cool to me when I didn't know a thing about pro wrestling. Anyone could be like, whatever, but both of them were like, try this or try that. So that was super cool with them. Trying to think, two more that would really stand out, other than my frenemy Charlie Knox. I do believe that he will go places no matter what. He is super talented, talented enough to get a ass whipping by me. So there's that. But another one would be Well, once again, she signed to NWA now, but Riley Rocket / Riley Ratchet, or Roxy Ratchet now. When I was at Ricky Morton's school at School of Morton, she would be there every day training that the school was open, and to see her on national TV now, that's awesome. So I've got to root for the people that were nice to me, that made waves, and people that make a whole lot of money like Danhausen. Yeah.
That's a great list.
Thank you.
My question would be, how'd your finisher come to be?
Well, there's a few that I've toyed around with. Once again, every big guy, every promoter, do a choke slam. So I do have a bit of a joke. I was called the Penthouse. It's a bit of a WCW joke. Hulk Hogan would say to the Giant, "Take him up to the penthouse, brother," and he would put them down. So I've got the penthouse where I throw them, whip them off. They hit the rope. We both jump. So it's a double jumping choke slam, which is pretty neat. I love that one quite a bit. Not a whole lot of people do it, which is neat. I also have one. It has probably the worst name in wrestling history, so I do apologize. But it's a submission move, and it's called the Von Erich Curse.
Okay, I can see why you would apologize,
so the Von
but
Erich
I kind of like
Curse
that one.
is, yeah. So I do a claw, swoop around $1 Million Dream where I'm tall. I lift them up. They get off their feet, and then I just fall backwards like a coquina clutch. So they get the claw.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so I still have Fritz Von Erich's claw, and then modify it with the sleeper. It's pretty neat.
Very cool. All right, Tony, you want to ask your final question?
Are we skipping Pat on purpose?
Sorry, Pat. You want to ask your final question?
Oh, we're at finals? Aw.
My final question is, how did your name come to be?
Oh, that's a really good one. I'm a big believer of good aura, good omens. I know that's not some weird supernatural thing. I'll explain. My middle name is Alexander, and that's where I get Xander from. And Hendrix is when my father's side of the family came from the old world to the new world. Their name was Hendrickson. And I dropped the son, added the X, double X, beginning and ending with an X.
Gotcha.
It writes itself, and I have a great designer. So he's thanks, Lee. But yeah, everything I do is inspired by someone or something. For instance, my gear, I have leopard print pattern on it. That was my mom's favorite design. My mom would go to church and she would have like a boa that would have like a leopard print. And when she passed away, I took one of them and I made it into my gear. So I'm a big believer of little things like that. When you call back to things in a wholesome and good way, maybe it's just good luck. Maybe it's just me thinking different. Maybe it's a good omen. That kind of thing makes me feel better. So, yeah.
Well, they don't have to be the final questions because I know the man up there in the yellow will ask at least 2 or 3 more. So, my final one is, where can we find you on social media, and when is your next match? There we go. So there's 2 questions.
All right. Well, I'm a big user. By big user, I'm just learning how to do the Instagram. I'm that weird generation of missed a lot of this being in my 30s, but now having to wrestle, I'm having to relearn it. This is great. Social media is fun. Yeah, it's Xander.Hendrix. It's just my name, Xander.Hendrix on Instagram. So XANDER.HENDRIX. That's the biggest one that I use. I post all my stuff, all my updates, all my matches, photos, workouts, snarky comments, stuff like that. That's probably that's where you'll find me. As far as next matches go, I've got one in the works. I don't know if I am allowed to announce that yet. I do apologize, but once I do, I can send you something. Hopefully, we can cross promote there. However, the next 2 months, the school that I am once again blessed enough to be able to attend, they do their house matches, which is they take all the talent that they have and bring them together for a showcase. So I've got that, and yeah, so it's here in the South. There's always wrestling, always, and whoever is unlucky enough to book old Xander Hendricks so he can schedule himself an ass whooping, I'll take on all takers, and I'm cheap too.
My last question is, what was your first experience where you had like an oh my god moment, whether that's who you wrestled or who you met, or where you're like, oh my god, I can't believe it.
Uh, there's been a few of those. Once again, not to turn it into a top five or anything like that. Once again, the first time I ever stepped in a ring, to me that was the first. Oh my god! Like I'm here to do this. There's no more daydreaming, thinking about like, man, it'd be cool if I was a pro wrestler. Like that was a very big like, okay, I got to make sure I don't die now. So that was a big one. Meeting people. That's people that you would never think in a million years. You watch TV and like, oh, that guy is cool. Then you get to meet them and they're really cool. That's cool. I used the word cool a lot. I do apologize. I think I used cool like 8 times there. So thank you, Washington County educational system. A big moment for me was, I met downtown Bruno not that long ago, Harvey Whippleman, and he's got a resurgence now with like the Young Rock and stuff like that. Just sitting and listening to him talk about how his side of the business worked, whether it was reffing or managing, and taking those cues and putting them into a match structure of like when and where to have someone involved. That was super cool and probably one of the most laid back human beings I've ever met in the wrestling business. That was pretty neat. I've not really had any oh my god bad experiences. Most people I've met have been really chill, really cool dudes. But also, I'm not the kind of guy that goes, "Oh my god, I loved you in that match that one time," and stare at it. No. Hi, how you doing? Xander Hendricks. Nice to meet you. If you need anything, I'll be over there. Everyone's been pretty cool. Yeah, go figure.
All right. You have anything else, Nate?
Oh, just that my biggest one, which I still have his picture in my room, was Roddy Piper tried to repackage the Portland Wrestling, and it was Portland Wrestling Uncut. And I got to go to one of the last shows, and I watched the whole show, and it was awesome. And the lady that was doing the photography came up to me and was like, "Hey, did you like the show?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, can I do anything to make it any better?" And I said, "Well, it's my birthday," because it was. And I said, "Can I meet Roddy Piper?" Not thinking in a world, like that was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, "Well, let me see what I can do. But up until then, you want to meet his son." So I was like, okay. And so I was talking to Colt, and she's like, "Yeah, give him 15 minutes." But still, in the back of your head, you're like, okay, yeah, something's gonna come up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or something. And so I'm sitting there still talking to some people, and all of a sudden I feel a tap on my shoulder, and it's Roddy Piper, and he does one of these, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I swear to you, my brain went to mush. It was like, oh my god, it's Roddy Piper. And then when it came back, the only thing I could think of was, my god, I got a contact buzz from all the alcohol you just drank because you breathed on me. And like,
be glad that's all it was with Roddy Piper.
But no, I mean, that was one of those moments where you're like, that was insane.
That'd be really cool to meet a legend like that. Like, I've met people that that's so cool to have met. Like, yeah, that's I don't even know what I would do. That's probably the time I would turn into the. Yeah.
Well, I know I don't have any cool stories, but Pat, do you want to tell your cool story?
Oh, gee, I gotta think of which one I want to say.
Of course.
Oh, 2018. Two of us was helping out at the Special Olympics World Games in Seattle, or USA Games in Seattle. During the opening ceremonies, I got assigned to the VIP, handing out water to the VIP, and I just happened to glance over and see Mark Henry, and so I went over and offered him a water, and one thing led to another, and yes, I was in Tony's doghouse for this. I asked if I could get a picture with him, and then we started talking about powerlifting. That was the coolest moment that I experienced.
He is one of the few guys that I've never heard anything bad. Like every time people have met him, he's been really chill, like really cool. That's awesome.
And he was very laid back.
One that stands out for me, it's nothing
Yes, I
that
know,
happened to
Tony.
me. It's one that happened for my daughter. During the whole COVID lockdown pandemic stuff, my daughter was having to learn from home because schools were closed. And I was trying to find her age appropriate books, and I saw that Colt Cabana had a book. And I was like, you know what? That'll be fun. I'll support coltmerch.com. I'll buy a $10 book. And then in the options, it says, you know, do you want it personalized? And I said, could you just say something uplifting? That'd be great. And about 10 minutes later on my Gmail, I get a email from coltmerch.com. And they're like, what do you want it inscribed? They're like, just pick whatever. I don't care. You know, just make it fun. Well, another 10 minutes goes by and there's an attachment. And it's a video from Colt Cabana talking to my daughter directly and saying, hey, follow your dreams and all this stuff. I'm just like this guy didn't have to do this. Like this is like right when he was signed to AEW. This is right when he's doing his podcast bi-weekly or every 2 weeks. And he takes, 5 minutes, which 5 minutes doesn't seem like a whole lot, but it took 5 minutes to make a video for a little girl he's never met. So good on you on that one. So
Wow.
that's probably the coolest wow moment, but it wasn't for me. It was for my daughter. So that was pretty cool of him.
That is cool.
I guess my wow moment was going to get to be to meet all these people in the promotion that we start and, actually experience independent wrestling because, yes, I've never experienced an independent wrestling show. Been to WWE, been to AEW, but never an independent show. So
whole other world, amigo. Whole other world.
That's what I've been told. So, I'm ready. But anyways.
Can I say the one other cool thing that I forgot to bring up when we were talking about the promotion?
No, but you're going to anyway.
Of course I am. So the fact that I said that if I was in a wheelchair getting into a ring, probably wouldn't happen because they don't, the ring's up here, chairs down here, right? The guy that's storing our ring right now found out that I'm the owner of the ring and I'm going to be one of the owners of the company. He's building me a ramp.
That's cool.
Or a lift so that I can get into my ring. And I will tell you this right now. You guys think CM Punk's pipe bomb was big? I have had 20 years of people telling me I can't do this. So when I get into that ring, that 20 years is all going to come out. So.
Yes. We cannot wait for that. Again, November 25th, Longview, Washington, at the fairgrounds in Longview. Inclusion Pro Wrestling. Toy Drive. And we will send you the information on Instagram. So
Very much so.
all right. Well, with that being said, it's been a fun-filled hour and 15 minutes. Man, an hour and 15 already. But
Just flew by.
I'm sure we got to get into a production meeting with our booker here before too much longer. So with that being said, thank you for joining us tonight. We'll be back tomorrow night, I believe. Or do we have a guest tomorrow night?
Currently, we don't have one for tomorrow night unless he confirms tomorrow afternoon.
So if we don't have a guest tomorrow night, we'll probably just come on and do a BS show, which are really, really fun because the last one we did, I kind of punked out my host and co-host and went on a banter that I still don't believe I did. But anyways, Wednesday night, I think we're off to, and Thursday, we have an interview. Friday, there's an interview. Saturday is Cameron Starr.
Yes.
And then Sunday, we have an interview as well. But Cameron Starr also has history into the ring that we've got in our promotion too. So that should be a very enjoying interview, as was this one tonight. I mean, it's not often we get to find somebody that can actually match wits with our talking wrestling encyclopedia. So this was fun for sure.
Yes.
So,
and I've never said this with so much passion. Please come back again, because we could do this like 5 or 6 different times and still go for an hour and 15 minutes.
That's what she said.
Exactly.
This has been a genuine honor, guys. First off, I want to say thank you all for having me. I haven't laughed this much in a while, so this was fun. Thank you all for having me.
absolutely. So, as far as anything else, I guess that is it for tonight. Again, we thank everybody for coming on. So, I'm going to stop talking now, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Sounds good. Thank you.